Hi, my name is Dalina Perdomo Álvarez. I'm Curatorial Fellow for Diversity in the Arts here at the Museum of Contemporary Photography, Columbia College, Chicago. And I'm here to talk about my exhibition, Temporal, Puerto Rican Resistance. Temporal, Puerto Rican Resistance focuses on the tumultuous series of events in Puerto Rico from 2016 to the present. The reason it starts so recently, in 2016, is because it traces the effects of the austerity measures taken after the U.S. federal law Promesa was passed in summer 2016, which imposed a fiscal control board to oversee the island's economy and restructure government debt. The reason for this law was because of Puerto Rico's unique political status as an unincorporated territory of the United States, which doesn't allow it to file for bankruptcy as U.S. states can. The budget cuts taken after this law was passed have taken a toll on the island's already fragile social, physical, and economic infrastructure, and they resulted in protests against it almost as soon as the intent to pass the law was announced. The title Temporal means storm in Spanish, but it could also refer to time in both English and Spanish. The sort of second meaning it takes up in relation to time is up to interpretation. It could refer to time as in the lifetime that has been lived these past 4 years since Promesa was passed, Hurricane Maria, ousting a governor, earthquakes, and dealing with a pandemic along with the rest of the world. Or it could refer to history and the colonial relationship between Puerto Rico and the United States since 1898.
Christopher Columbus dubbed El Puerto Rico, the rich port.
Or it could refer to time and the photographic image. As a curator, I chose the title Temporal because I felt I could make reference to Hurricane Maria without centering it or exploiting disaster. And in a sense, I also wanted to make a culturally specific reference for Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans will recognize the word temporal because it is also the title of a plena song. Plena is a traditional music genre in Puerto Rico, which is percussive due to its use of hand drums, known as panderos, and repetitive satirical lyrics sang usually in a chorus. And it is also known as the sung newspaper of the people. This main gallery opens up the exhibition with images taken in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria, which show the effects of the storm, including complete loss of power in some areas of the island for nearly a year. The aftermath of the storm changes how everything is perceived: the passing of time, daily routines, and the surrounding natural world. This piece is titled Graft, and it's by Chicago-based artist Edra Soto. Inspired by Puerto Rican architecture, it may not seem photographic at first glance, but once visitors approach, they can see more images taken in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria hidden in these viewfinders. A couple of the artists in the exhibition deal with problems related to Puerto Rico's infrastructure. For example, Natalia Lasalle Morillo's piece, La Ruta, takes us through the island's heartland, known as the Panoramic Route. Completed around 1975 as a way to incentivize tourism and further modernize the island, the Panoramic Route is now unkempt and neglected, as you will see in the artist's video. The materiality of the piece comments on the need for sustainability in Puerto Rico. The fabric screens were manufactured by a textile worker on the island and made out of natural abaca and pineapple fiber. This installation by artist Ojos Nebulosos is titled Quisqueya Salon, and it is modeled after Dominican salons in Puerto Rico. More specifically, it is inspired by two salons owned by the artist's aunts, one of which had to close after Hurricane Maria. In a way, this is a spot in the exhibition where many themes coalesce. Not only Hurricane Maria, but themes dealing with the Puerto Rican economy and how women sustain themselves in a failing economy through small businesses such as a salon. Additionally, a salon is a space where oral histories can be communicated, and that ties back to a central inspiration for this exhibition, which is that of the Plena as a sung newspaper of the people. In a salon, you will often hear community stories and gossip get passed throughout, while the news is often playing on the TV in the background. This salon is an audiovisual experience on what it's like to be a Dominican woman in Puerto Rico. In general, Dominicans on the island often face discrimination through xenophobia or anti-blackness and being targeted by police due to immigration status, putting them in more vulnerable positions in moments of both disaster and resistance. Related to the resistance part in the exhibition subtitled Puerto Rican Resistance, Christopher Gregory Rivera's series, Las Carpetas, gives us a look at the now declassified files kept by the FBI in conjunction with the Puerto Rico Police Department from the 1930s to the 1980s, where they surveilled Puerto Ricans who they deemed political subversives because of their relation to the independence movement. This series includes images of the files we know as carpetas and of confiscated objects, in particular books they felt spread threatening knowledge, as well as surveillance photos that reveal photography's role in suppressing this resistance movement. Commenting on issues of infrastructure, Rogelio Baez Vegas' piece Field Day is inspired by the architecture and topography of a typical Puerto Rican school and its grounds. Due to budget cuts from Promesa, hundreds of schools were closed on the island. This piece is comprised of photos and videos of two young students exploring an abandoned school site, as well as plans to represent the overgrowth of these abandoned school sites. The school closures were exacerbated by the later natural disasters of Hurricane Maria and the 2020 earthquakes. This piece by Maribe Robles Lopez features protest photography printed on panderos, which are hand drums used in Plena music. Going back to the exhibition's conversations with Plena, Plena is often used in protests in Puerto Rico and serves as a backdrop to the resistance movement. Closing the exhibition is a selection of photographs taken of the ongoing resistance movement in Puerto Rico. This features not only the summer of 2019 protests that led to the governor's resignation, but also protests against Promesa, feminist demonstrations, and the University of Puerto Rico student strikes. To learn more about the exhibition, Temporal, Puerto Rican Resistance, please visit MoCP.org. Thank you for visiting the Museum of Contemporary Photography.
Vivo en el país del tumbe, vivo en el país